keep treating you, Mike?
It's great. I've loved it here so
Yes.
far. Yeah.
Not your first trip, right?
Nope. Second time coming here. Yes.
You're gonna come back again, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Good. The weather hasn't turned too bad.
Mhm.
Well, it's good to have you. We should see you more often.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Good. I hear that community has some questions for me, so fire away.
Yes. So we just signed a major partnership with a home medical device company, and just we're wondering if you could explain why that is so huge.
So, if you think about what we are really trying to do here, the problem with medical devices, home medical devices, all of them, is that they are bought and rarely used. So, I don't know how many times you've ever used your blood pressure monitor, but I'm sure you have one sitting in a drawer.
Yeah.
And from a medical device company perspective, that data, if it's not collected, is one problem, and then not used in terms of communication with the doctor is another. So, in a nutshell, devices are only as useful as the data they produce, and the data is only as useful as how much care it helps improve. So this is a huge partnership in the sense that we are actually transporting that data. First, we are giving the patient the reason to collect the data, and second, we are then transporting the data safely to the doctor, and we're injecting that data into different care models, whether it's diabetes care or global telehealth exchange. So by supporting at-home devices like the one we just recently announced and collecting the data in a secure, compliant manner, we make the data actionable, and we actually create the usage of the device, or we increase the usage of the device. From a device manufacturer perspective, we are the answer to the big problem. We sell devices, nobody uses them. From our point of view, it solves many problems. So first, these devices are bought retail, which means there are millions of consumers with retail devices but low usage. So our platform or our wallet now increases the value of their device that they have already bought, which is a really big deal. Second, we are showing the patient that this data is not just sitting on your phone. A lot of people have information on their phone, like how many steps they walked or what their body mass index is, but that data is not used in any clinical way. It's just information. So with Solve.Care and with Care Wallet, that information becomes actionable inside Global Telehealth Exchange, inside the Diabetes Care Network. So now there is a reason to collect data. And the third biggest reason that nobody quite understands is the fact that data is like a prescription. So clinical data, unless collected in the context of a prescription, is rarely utilized, okay? So in the Care Wallet, we are creating the concept of the physician can prescribe data like they can prescribe a drug. And with that prescription is enforced by the care card and collected through the device. So now imagine a scenario where the doctor you are talking to on Global Telehealth Exchange can say, Pradeep, based on your recent issues that we have diagnosed, I want you to do a blood pressure monitor check 3 times a week. I want you to check your blood glucose 5 times a week. I want you to take an oximeter reading once a week or once every morning. And I want this collected on a regular basis, and I want this data, I want to see this data. So this becomes a data card that the doctor sends me. And that data card reminds me to put on the blood pressure monitor, to put on the EKG device, to turn on the glucose meter and take my reading. And now the data is being collected inside a data collection regimen. That is useful data. And this data is very powerful. This is the data everybody wishes we had. So this is exactly the opposite of random collection, okay? Few things to consider. In healthcare, data has a shelf life of about 90 days. Data older than 90 days is only trend lines. It's not actionable data, it's informative data. So really, data older than 90 days is largely useless, which is why, as a sidebar conversation, when you and I have talked about inside the company as to why electronic medical records on blockchain have never impressed me, it's because it's essentially looking at historical data as being meaningful. But the reality is historical data is rarely meaningful. It's only a trend line. So I have never been a believer that just throwing a bunch of IoT devices on a blockchain, randomly collecting data when the patient feels like generating the data, throwing it on the blockchain and then selling it to anybody, that there's going to be a buyer. There'll be no buyer because the data has no cadence, no velocity, no context. It has no relevance. So a bunch of random readings from a patient loaded onto an IoT blockchain and then monetizing them, good luck. Not going to happen. It's no value, zero value data. So what we are doing in a nutshell is making data incredibly valuable, because there is a lot of talk around the world about how blockchain will allow interoperability or collection and storage of data, and especially in healthcare setting, and that the blockchain will allow the patient to control their data and monetize it. I am a full believer of that.
Yeah.
I'm a 100% believer that patients should control their data. I'm a 100% believer that patient-supplied data should support the patient's value. It should generate value for the patient, not for the insurance company, not for the hospital, not for the pharmaceutical company, but for the patient.
Yeah.
But the data that you collect has to be useful. It has to be relevant, and it has to be contextually significant. So what we are doing is we are solving the problem that all the blockchain industry that deals with healthcare has been implying, that use my blockchain and it will somehow magically satisfy the patient rights, the patient data monetization, patient data sharing, patient data control, but they do absolutely nothing to make the data relevant, contextual, and clinically significant. So the difference between our partnership that we just announced and many more to come and everything else in the world is all that data collection is random and non-contextual. And we are adding value to patient data by creating a sequential care ledger that has sequentially relevant, contextually meaningful, clinically significant data. This data you can actually sell. This data you can actually use to diagnose the patient. This data you can use to manage their care journey. So what we are doing is we are taking the data collection devices, be it IoT or be it Bluetooth, makes no difference, and organizing the data into a care ledger that is clinically useful to the doctor or to a researcher or to a pharmaceutical company. And we are doing that through the bridging of the device to the wallet, to the node, to the physician's data prescription. So this is a huge step. Now, we could have started with any device, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But this was an important device for us because this device addresses multimodal data. It's not a single reading, it's a multi-LED device, which means it gives us a lot of information about the patient, and it allows us to actually capture this data in a way that clinically is relevant. But this is step one. Step two is to support other data collection devices at home that supplement this. Because if you're going to create an actual clinically significant data set, you got to have clinically significant devices all working together.
Yeah.
And that's where the Care Wallet and this partnership begins. So in a simple nutshell, we are actually closer to meaningful data collection using Care Wallet and the partnership we have announced. And we are going to use this partnership to get other device manufacturers to supplement the data set to make it complete. And that data set is already can be easily injected into GTHE as a care ledger. It can be injected into DCAN as a care ledger. It can be injected into TeamCare as a care ledger. It can be injected into the upcoming RPM, obviously, network as a care ledger. And same data in different networks can be computed differently.
Wonderful.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's all part of the Solve.Care ecosystem model. We just expanded the Solve.Care ecosystem to include medical devices and started with one significant, very innovative device, but I think we're going to end up with a lot more devices. Not I think, I know, because we are talking to them.
Yeah.
Now, from a business value point of view, this is huge. Since we made the announcement that we have now bridged consumer medical device to Care Wallet, to a care ledger, to a physician, we have had calls with significant health systems who now are going, wait, if we can support that device, how about these 3 other devices? I just bought 1 million of them, or 2 million of them. Or I have an existing partnership where I have already distributed 2.5 million blood pressure monitors. Can you not collect those into the same care regimen? Of course we can. So, it's like you drive a stake in the ground and you say, we are doing this, and everybody goes, well, if you're doing that, you can do a lot more for me too.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes. So we are having really powerful conversations with very powerful health systems, insurance companies who have now realized that this bridge is possible. And this bridge can be secure. and this bridge can be HIPAA compliant, that this bridge can be clinically significant. Because if I was sitting in my old chair at an insurance company or at a public health program, my question would be, yeah, of course everybody has a Bluetooth enabled, blood pressure monitor, but that random data collection is useless.
Yeah.
How am I going to use it in a clinically meaningful way in my care delivery model? Solve.Care just announced how to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Wonderful.
So this is a very important partnership in the nature of the partnership. Even though this is a very carefully chosen partner and they have a very innovative product, we have many other partnerships lined up with similarly innovative products, but the objective isn't the product, the device itself. The objective is a complete data collection mechanism that allows a cardiologist, a endocrinologist, an ophthalmologist, a general practitioner to be able to prescribe a data regimen like a prescription drug, and our care wallet enforces it.
And get a full picture.
And get the right picture. You see, in healthcare, I will jump on that point. Healthcare, there is no such thing as full picture. The idea that we can have a longitudinal view of the patient is a more of a social media, Google search mindset. In healthcare, you're looking for relevant data to the disease condition and the care model. So I need to know 7 things about you as a cardiologist that would allow me to diagnose your heart risk. There may be 50 other things about you that an endocrinologist wants, but I don't care. So in many ways, we are trying to create relevant data sets, okay? Not many ways, in specific way. So you can extract the relevant data set from the care ledger. But most importantly, we're trying to collect data against a data collection regimen. Right. Otherwise, data randomly collected is randomly useless, okay? So this partnership relationship is what? They have 1 million plus devices in the market, which are low utilization today. Yeah. So we could convert those device owners who are currently have already paid out a significant amount of money because they are intrigued by this power of this device, but they don't know what to do with this information, right? And even if there is some way where they can send this information, it doesn't fit inside a care journey. There is no care model. Yeah. So by allowing those same million users who already have invested in this device to connect to Care Wallet if they wish, and convert this data into clinically significant data, yes, that's very powerful for them. So that's first one goal. The other goal is to attract other people to come in and download the Care Wallet and buy this device, because this does give you a multimodal view of your health. And the third is to attract other device manufacturers to accelerate their integration with us, because we're talking to several. And the last is to engage the health systems who need this data to call us and say, you guys have the answer to what I'm looking for. Can you please support not just device that you support, but 3 other devices I need to support? And since the flow is the same, all we have to do is to now start planning out device after device after device partnership.
And it can just be plug and play, essentially.
To a degree that the data is purely plug and play. Now, how we collect the data in terms of the device security, device accuracy, tissue connectivity to the Care Wallet, those are all obviously device by device by device problem, right? And we will probably need to spend anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks per device to ensure the secure transmission and accurate transmission of data. I'll tell you something very incredible that's going on internally, is that we are currently working with a major device manufacturer who has an excellent device, an expensive one, that does real-time data collection, continuous data collection. But the problem for them was, how do they transfer the data from the device securely to the physician? And they could get the data from the device to their cloud, but then cloud, how does it go to the physician? And how does the physician actually get the data in a secure way? We solved that problem. We are actually sending a key from the Care Wallet all the way into the device in the hands of the patient, encrypting the data at collection, and once the data is collected, it flows all the way back to the Care Wallet encrypted, and it can be decrypted only when it hits the care ledger and will be shared by the patient. Wow. Nobody solved that problem before. So in many ways, what we are doing is the fundamental value proposition here is that we have created a data collection model that is clinically relevant. We are now attracting clinically accurate device manufacturers to partner with us, And we are already able to talk about this solution as a groundbreaking solution to major health systems. And they are already calling us and saying, tell me more. How does this work? And when they understand how this first device works, they're thinking, wow, this is the platform for multimodal data collection for me. And you can inject all this data into physician's wallet effortlessly and safely. We don't have to worry about HIPAA violation. We don't have to worry about data at flight risk. And you guys have solved the big issues. So I think in a sense, what you, our own team, the community who is looking at this going, well, how is this big? It couldn't be any bigger.
Yeah.
And the focus should be on the one device. The focus should be on, now we are building a multi-device ecosystem.
It's exciting.
And we have driven this into the ground. This is now in our hands. But most importantly, there is revenue here. That there is revenue to the fact that we have built a data bridge from an at-home device to a provider. That bridge is something that we are willing to stand behind as secure. That's the issue. That's the objective and that's the goal, and that's what everybody's excited about. So in the healthcare space, in the insurance space, in the provider space, we are addressing the big thorny questions, and we're using this partnership to prove the point.
Very great. It's exciting. It's a lot to
come.
Is. Yeah.
There's a lot to come, and as always, the question here is about clinical value. As always, right? When we launched the Diabetes Care Network, the question was, what's the clinical impact on the patient? When we launched Global Telehealth Exchange, the question is, what's the clinical value to a parent whose child is sick at 3 a.m.? When we launched the partnership, the question is the data clinically relevant and significant, or is it a random collection of useless data because it has no context? And we want the first, not the second. When we look at RPM network coming, it's all about, is the data collection clinically useful, or otherwise it's just MVPs, right? In healthcare, MVPs don't work. People's lives aren't tied to experimentation, or shouldn't be. So I am excited, but I think this is the beginning of a multi-step journey. And ultimately what we are doing with this partnership leads to a full-blown RPM, but it also leads to a much richer DCAN, to a much richer GTHE, and it gives us a revenue source that people, there's a significant revenue stream that to be had, but there aren't very many competitors in the space. But there are device manufacturers, there are SaaS companies saying we are the EMR on blockchain, or we are the EMR in the cloud, but none of them address the issue that how do you collect data meaningfully at home, transport it securely to the patient, allow them to share it with proper consents to the doctor, and inject the data into a clinically significant care journey. That's a very hard equation.
Yeah.
We are cracking that.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So my next question was, will there be any joint marketing with this new partnership, or have we seen any physicians asking about having this device available?
So we are definitely hearing from physicians about this and other devices that they want to see. But more importantly, we are hearing from health systems who employ hundreds, if not thousands of physicians saying, hey, wait a second, this model could work for me in multiple disease management models that I have. So our goal was never to get a physician to say, oh, I'll prescribe the device. Our goal was a health system to say, I will sell this device to 1 million people, or I'll give this device to 100,000 patients. So the goal is to have to inject the device and the wallet, or devices and the wallet, into the care management model of a large health system. And that we are absolutely getting the response we want, or wanted. Even better. When it comes to the advertising, that's a decision each partner will make. Think of it this way, fast forward 4 months. We are supporting, let's say, 3 or 4 major devices, right? Some of them are big brands that everybody knows. Some of them are more specialty brands, like the announcement we did. It makes no difference. You have a complement of devices that together collect almost all the necessary vitals you need for almost every chronic disease, right? Barring the ones that require a lab test, right? We're talking about at-home data collection. So you have those devices. You now can prescribe any combination of vitals, and the care wallet will tell the patient, turn on this device, followed by this device, followed by this device, take the reading, answer 3 questions, have you eaten, have you not eaten, whatever. And now we know the context of the data that we need for this data to be clinically useful. And we capture that data securely, encrypted, and store it in the ledger, and we allow it for sharing to the provider. right?
Yeah.
At this point in time, what are we really after? We are after being part of every major care journey around cancer or pregnancy or hypertension or diabetes or whatever. So we are now the framework on which a Mayo or a Kaiser or a Aetna, CVS or whoever can design proper care models. And outside the US, of course, right? We're not a US only company. In fact, we are sitting here in Ukraine today. So the idea here is, the objective here is to build a data collection model and to support variety of at-home devices, but to make the data collection clinically relevant and significant. So will each device manufacturer market our whole solution? No. Every device manufacturer will do their own positioning in the market. To us, any marketing they do is good. If they don't do, it's fine. We don't care.
And it's beneficial to them, right?
It's very beneficial to them, but every device manufacturer will have their own marketing strength. Some will have good marketing budgets and marketing teams, and some won't. Some will have a marketing agency and some won't. Some are big enough to actually buy the marketing agencies, and they will. So I think from our point of view, what we are looking for is marketing to the health system, to the hospital, to the provider network, to the pharmaceutical company, to the insurance company, to the government agency, or to a group of 100 doctors, or GTHE, a group of thousands of doctors. That's the idea. So whether a device manufacturer markets us is not so important, because they're not really involved in the care journey, but we will market ourselves to the target audience. Having said that, every device manufacturer wants to do marketing around it. But what we do is, when we sign partnerships, we focus on quality and accuracy of data and our right to control the data from device to doctor. That's what we look for. We look for, do we have custody of data all the way from device to ledger? If we can do that, they're our partner. If we can't do that, we probably won't go with them. Even if they're putting $1 million in marketing, that's not who we want.
So the goal here is adoption.
The goal here is adoption of the data in a clinically significant way by a clinically strong company, right, or client. So our goal here is to get the millions of devices and care wallets talking to each other. And then there's also a network effect. Let's say that I have device A and I'm collecting data through the care wallet and sending it to the doctor. The doctor saying, hey, I need you to also collect data from device B. You're not going to buy some random device. You're going to buy the device care wallet supports. Because that's where the data collection is happening. So you'll end up with care wallet as being the most important data collection, not because we are better than Apple Health application. Who cares about that? Because we inject the compendium of contextually and clinically relevant data into a care ledger in the context of a care management routine. So I'm basically saying all this noise about electronic medical records being shoved on chain, all this random device data being shoved on the chain, we are saying let's organize it. Like Google organizes the web. And let's collect this data and put them into time series with a clinical context around them that makes the data useful. Otherwise it's just noise. And noise is useless, and noise nobody pays for. So if you want to really achieve the vision of patient-owned, patient-controlled, patient-sold data, then Care Wallet is an actual answer to that. And device partners are critical to that. Because without device partnership, we cannot rely upon the patient to enter the information. Nobody's going to do that, right? Nobody's going to do that. So devices make it much more probable that this clinically relevant data is something that we can actually collect and transcure, organize, categorize, clinically contextualize, and actually give to the doctor. So I think this was a very big step in a journey. But if you want to use the marathon analogy, we just crossed the 5-mile mark here. We got some ways to run, but at the point where we can collect the 4 or 5 most important vitals through a collection of devices, I think we will be a very powerful solution. And that's our goal for the next couple of quarters.
Nice. All right, so for the last question, I want to change topics a little bit. This is a question the community asks quite a bit. What's the status on Definitize?
So I know that with a lot of the activity we had to do this year, Definitize has taken a back seat, but we are picking it back up. We have identified a senior executive to lead Definitize, and we are going to bring him in to take over and run Definitize on a dedicated basis. In my last community meeting that I just did a few days ago, maybe 2 days ago, I explained to everyone how I'm creating parallel business units. So Definitize is its own business unit now, and it's going to be spun out, not spun out in the sense of a company, but dedicated team focus. Because I know that we are approaching the end of the mining period, and that tokens will be released, but DCare still will exist. And the vision of Definitize is to make DCare very valuable, right? So I know that people have patiently waited for the tokens to be released, but Solve token is its own trajectory, it's doing its own thing. But DCare is all about Definitize. So delayed but not denied. Those of them who have DCare, hang on to it, because we're going to now start putting significant thought on execution of Definitize, and a dedicated team led by a dedicated leader, which will not interrupt our care networks in our platform. But we clearly had to choose this year with all the business disruption we have faced due to COVID, where to put our energy. And I think we made the right decisions. We absolutely did, because we have come out of this year stronger than we had hoped for. And now it's time to pick Definitize back up, inject value into DCare, restart the financing model, and get into the market. So delayed but not denied is my answer. And it clearly is something where I feel that we have given it enough shape and structure, but now it needs to be turned over to a dedicated executive. So Maria, I, and other members of the team internally are keen to get Definitize restarted. But I didn't want to do that till we had met certain key milestones, which we have met.
Great.
So we are good to restart.
Nice. Yeah. It's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for answering my questions.
Good. As you can see, I'm very excited about the device strategy. I will say a couple of things also more going back to that. There's only so much I can tell the market before competition copies us, right? And there are big boys who always look to us for inspiration as to what to do, how to really solve the healthcare riddle, how to really use healthcare, blockchain in healthcare, how to avoid, risk and noise, and how to not break compliance, because those are all worries for healthcare companies. So we tend to be the idea factory for them for free. So as a result, I typically hate telling people about our strategy, because I know that the listeners will also say, hey, that's a brilliant idea, let me go do it too. And I don't mind competition, but I do mind when our ideas are plagiarized and sold off as somebody else's. So there is going to be always competition, and imitation is the best form of flattery. But we always have to be cautious that we don't tell enough, so much in the market, that the wrong people listening with the wrong intent can monetize it in a way that harms us. So I've shared a lot about the device strategy. There's a lot I haven't shared, and we're not going to share till we are done. Because at that point in time, it's harder for them to emulate us. And that means things like exclusive partnerships and whatnot that we are working on. So I would say to the community, the device strategy is a step towards what everybody in blockchain has been dreaming about patient control over data, clinically significant data collection and monetization of that data by patients selling the data to clinically valid organizations or organizations willing to pay for it. You've been talking about it, guys. We're actually doing it.
It's amazing.
Good. Well, I'm glad you stopped by. When are you heading out?
On the 9th.
Well, enjoy your time here. I'm heading back to US tomorrow, but I'll be back in a couple of weeks. But a lot happening. So let's make sure that we see you back here soon.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.